How's it going, guys? I hope you guys are having a great week. So I'm back today with my final third video, guys, in my end of year review. This one's actually going to be looking ahead into 2022. So a lot of games were delayed into this year, and 2022 is really shaping up to be an incredible year for gaming. I tried to narrow this video down to 10 most anticipated games, and it was just impossible. So I've had to put them all in here. Here are 20 of my most anticipated games coming out in 2022. This is a long list. I'm probably going to start off with the ones that have confirmed release dates and do those in release date order, and then I'll just throw some other games that I'm super looking forward to coming out this year. Kicking us off first is Sifu. So I'm really looking forward to Sifu. It's one of my most anticipated indie titles coming out this year. It's a beat-em-up action-adventure game developed by French indie studio Slow Clap. The story of Sifu actually follows a kung fu student who sets out to fulfill a lifelong vendetta to hunt down and defeat the 5 assassins who brutally murdered his family. The main protagonist actually possesses a magical talisman that revives him whenever he suffers a fatal injury in combat, with the downside being that he ages a specific number of years with each resurrection and will eventually die once the talisman's magic is up. Sifu looks super interesting, super stylized and stylish. The combat looks hard-hitting, visceral. Apparently there are going to be 150 different kung fu moves, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's probably going to be the first game that I pick up and likely review this year. So I'm super hyped for it coming out on the 8th of February. The second big release that month is also Horizon Forbidden West. I'm a massive fan of the Horizon series. I'm actually planning to do a whole lore series and a story so far video on Horizon. I'm actually in the middle of playing Zero Dawn at the moment just to refresh my memory for the story, and I'm so hyped for the sequel. This, of course, is an action RPG developed by Guerrilla Games, and it's a sequel to 2017's Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Forbidden West actually continues the story of Aloy as she leads a band of companions on a quest to the arcane frontier known as the Forbidden West to find the source of a mysterious plague that seems to be killing all organic life. One of the main additions to the sequel is actually the element of underwater exploration, which I'm very much looking forward to. Players will be able to uncover the mysteries beneath the surface of the seas, lakes and rivers, and the game will also feature enhanced melee combat, a revamped climbing system and improved traversal options. It just looks like they've taken what was in Zero Dawn and just improved on it in a million ways, including the look, the visual look of the game, which already looked beautiful but now looks even more amazing. Horizon Forbidden West is definitely one of my most anticipated games this year, and I'm super hyped for it. I cannot wait to pick it up and play it. February is a really busy month this year because we also have Elden Ring, which is going to be coming out on the 25th of February. This is an action RPG developed by From Software. The world looks really interesting. The art style and visual style looks very distinct, incredible. Elden Ring actually takes place in the realm of the lands between, sometime after the destruction of the Elden Ring, which has been scattered into shards called the Great Runes. The realm is now ruled over by the demigod offspring of Queen Marika the Eternal, and each possesses a shard of the ring that corrupts and taints them with power. Players have to traverse the realm to ultimately find all of the Great Runes and ultimately forge them together, restoring the Elden Ring and thus becoming the Elden Lord. I have not really played too many of the From Software games. I've more dabbled at them. I played Sekiro and really enjoyed Sekiro, but I think Elden Ring might be the first game that I actually pick up and hopefully complete. I am very much on the fence about whether or not I'm going to live stream it for you guys, but let me know if there is an interest there, and I will definitely consider it. But it definitely is very high up there on my list. The next game coming out is Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. Of course, this is an action RPG game developed by Koei Tecmo Games and Team Ninja, and of course published by Square Enix. Stranger of Paradise is set in an alternative dark fantasy universe and retells the original Final Fantasy. The storyline follows a set of characters brought into a fantasy world to face the malevolent chaos. The main character is called Jack Garland. He's a man consumed by a need to destroy chaos. He's accompanied by other companions, including similar newcomers Ash and Jed, who become the foretold Warriors of Light. Combat takes place in real time, with Jack being able to switch between two assigned jobs and use both physical and magical attacks. Strangers of Paradise was something that I wasn't really particularly interested in, especially after the very first trailer that I felt didn't do a lot to promote or sell the game. But actually having played both of the demos, I'm even more interested, having gotten my hands on the combat and the gameplay, which actually feels really satisfying. And you can also play this game through cooperative, so I am planning to play this one with Edge, and we're probably going to be featuring it on our multiplayer Wednesdays for you guys to tune in and check out. The fifth game I'm looking forward to this year is Kirby and the Forgotten Land. This is an upcoming platformer developed by HAL Laboratory and of course published by Nintendo. It's actually the 17th mainline installment in the Kirby series, as well as the first 3D mainline game in the series. Kirby basically washes up on the beaches of a new post-apocalyptic world called the Forgotten Land. He finds that creatures, mainly Waddle Dees, are being kidnapped by an evil force known as the Beast Pack. Kirby, alongside a new rescued companion called Elfilin, adventures across the new world to rescue the Waddle Dees and battle against the Beast Pack. Like with most Kirby games, Kirby can jump and slide, as well as inhale enemies and objects, which can either spit out like projectiles or swallow to gain a copy ability. I actually have never played a Kirby game, but this game very much gives me vibes of Mario Odyssey and its feel and its style, and that is what makes me interested in it. It looks like it's trying to take the Kirby series in a new interesting direction, and it is definitely a game I'm wanting to pick up and check out this year, and of course it's coming out on the 25th of March, so you know, the month of my birthday. The next game coming out in March is Tiny Tina's Wonderland. It's an action RPG first-person shooter developed of course by Gearbox and published by 2K Games. It's a spin-off in the Borderlands series and a successor to Borderlands 2 Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep, which for me was the best DLC pack that came with Borderlands 2. The game can be played either solo or with 3 other players in online or local split-screen co-op, and the game is set directly after Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep, and just like that expansion, the campaign is set within the world of a fantasy-themed tabletop RPG game. Tiny Tina will of course be the dungeon master and can change the game's world on the fly. In Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, players can also create their own playable character. The game features 6 different character classes, and for the first time in the series, players can actually mix and match these skills for their characters. Of course, this is a Borderlands game, so players will have access to a large arsenal of weapons and firearms, but for the first time as well, they will also be able to wield melee weapons. Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep was my favorite DLC. I loved the writing, the humor, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm very much looking forward to jumping in and checking out Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Dante and I are definitely going to be playing this, and we will absolutely be reviewing it, and I'm hoping that I can get Edge and Fish in on this as well to check it out, because I think it's going to be a really good time and a lot of fun. The 7th game this year is Forspoken. This is an action RPG developed by Luminous Productions and published by Square Enix. We have learned a little bit more about the story. So the main protagonist is called Frey Holland. She's a young woman who is transported from New York City to the fantasy world of Athia and uses magical powers to journey through it and survive in order to find her way home. According to director Takeshi Aramaki, the gameplay will be focused on terrain traversal speed and fluidity. Square Enix have also described the game as a narrative-driven adventure, so story is really going to be key here, and story is where I am at, so I'm really happy to hear that. In terms of the gameplay, it does seem that you can use magic or magical abilities. It looks interesting, it's like nothing I've seen, so I'm very intrigued to see how the game actually feels to play, but it is certainly a game I am very much looking forward to checking out and getting my hands on, and that is why it's made this list. The 8th game coming out this year I'm looking forward to is A Plague Tale Requiem. This is developed by Asobo Studio and published by Focus Home Interactive. I am very much looking forward to this indie title. It is a sequel to 2019's A Plague Tale Innocence. If you have not played that game, I highly recommend it. It was one of the best games that came out that year. It continues on the story, and after escaping their devastated homeland, Amicia and Hugo travel far south to new regions and vibrant cities. There they attempt to start a new life and control Hugo's curse, but when Hugo's powers reawaken, death and destruction return in a flood of devouring rats. They are forced to flee once again, and the siblings place their hopes in a prophesized island that may hold the key to saving Hugo. A Plague Tale Innocence was a huge surprise for me in 2019. I really enjoyed the story. I thought the characters and story had a lot of heart. The setting was really interesting, and even the gameplay and the gameplay mechanics was interesting. The game is very much kind of a stealth game. It'll be interesting to see where, Asobo Studio take the game and how they're going to progress the gameplay further, but I'm very much looking forward to it. The 9th game coming out this year is Bayonetta 3. This is an action hack and slash game developed by Platinum Games and published by Nintendo exclusively for the Nintendo Switch, and it's coming out sometime in 2022, though we don't know when. It is a sequel to 2014's Bayonetta 2, so we have been waiting a long time for a sequel. If it's anything like the first or second game, it's going to be over the top, it's going to be cheesy, it's going to be amazing, but those games had some of the best fights and combat of any game, and some of the most over the top fights as well. We have seen a little bit of gameplay footage most recently in a trailer which showed some new abilities. One specific ability called Demon Masquerade, which is a new ability that channels the demon linked within Bayonetta's weapon, allowing for some sort of exciting options. We also saw Bayonetta summoning a demonic creature as well in the middle of combat, so that will be interesting if there are more summons as part of it and some new summons. But yeah, Bayonetta 1 and 2 was just crazy. There's a massive fan base there, and I'm sure for many people this is one of their most anticipated games. The 10th game coming out this year is Evil West. This is a third-person action game developed by Flying Wild Hog and published by Focus Entertainment. I love the look and style of this game. It is set in the American frontier, and you actually play as one of the last agents in a top-secret vampire hunting institute. You are the final line between humanity and monsters and vampires that emerge from the shadows. It offers a narrative-driven campaign offering visceral explosive combat with firearms, lightning-fueled gauntlets, and gadgets. The game can also be played either solo or in co-op with a friend. I love the premise. I don't think we get enough kind of Western games, and mixing a Western-style game with vampires sounds amazing. The gameplay we saw recently, the combat looked a lot of fun too, and now the fact that you can play this cooperatively has me even more interested. So yeah, Evil West looks great, and that's why it's on this list. The 11th game I'm looking forward to this year is Ghostwire Tokyo. This is an action adventure game developed by Tango Gameworks, and it's set for release sometime in 2022. Ghostwire Tokyo has me extremely intrigued. The setting and premise is interesting. Apparently within the game, nearly all of Tokyo's citizens have vanished mysteriously, and otherworldly spirits known as visitors have invaded the city. The protagonist Akito has supernatural powers which manifest as the game progresses, and Akito combats the spirits haunting the city. He encounters a group wearing Hanya masks who may unveil the mystery behind what's going on. The game is played in first person, and players can use a variety of psychic and paranormal abilities. The combat director Shinichiro Hara described the combat as karate meets magic, as the player character can actually utilize hand movements and hand gestures to cast spells. Ghostwire Tokyo looks really stylized and really interesting. I'm definitely do want to check it out, if and when it does come out in 2022. And yeah, it looks very cool. It looks kind of creepy too, so it'll be interesting to see whether it's more of an action game or more of a horror game or a little bit of both. It'll be really interesting to sort of see what the game has to offer. The 12th game coming out this year is, of course, God of War Ragnarok. This is an action-adventure game developed by Santa Monica Studio. God of War Ragnarok, of course, is a sequel, and it takes place 3 years after the events of the previous game. Winter is drawing to a close, and it is prophesied that Ragnarok will begin once it comes to an end. We now have a teenage Atreus, still reeling from the revelations of the previous game, seeking answers about his identity, as well as a way to prevent Ragnarok from happening. To uncover the truth, Kratos and Atreus set out to find answers, searching for the giant Norse god of war, Tyr, who was previously believed to be dead. Whilst traversing the 9 realms, the duo must face new threats, including Thor, the god of thunder, and Freya, their former friend and ally, both, of course, seeking revenge following the deaths of their respective sons by Kratos' hand. Spoilers. But yeah, if it's anything like God of War, I am there. I already know that the gameplay is going to be amazing, the combat's going to be incredible, and it's going to feel amazing to play. But I'm even more excited to see what the game is going to have to offer and where that story is going to go. I'm very much looking forward to it, and God of War Ragnarok is probably one of the most anticipated games on my list this year. The 13th game coming out in 2022 is Gotham Knights. This is an action RPG game developed by Warner Brothers Games Montreal. The game actually takes place in a period of decline for Gotham City after Batman's apparent death. Players take control of the Dark Knight's former partners, so Nightwing, Batgirl, Robin and Red Hood, who have gone their separate ways but must now work together once more to restore justice to Gotham and prevent it from descending into chaos. At some point during the game, the heroes will come into contact with the Court of Owls, a secret criminal society that is as old as Gotham itself, and their legion of brainwashed assassins called Talons, while also obviously investigating Batman's death. The game can actually be played both solo and also in 2-player cooperative multiplayer, offering players the option to easily drop in and out of friends' games. I'm intrigued by Gotham Knight. I want to see more gameplay, to be fair. I'd like to see a fairly lengthy segment of gameplay just to see how it feels, but it does look interesting. I'm surprised that it only offers 2-player co-op, but for me, given how many characters there are, 4-player co-op would have been really cool. But certainly it'll be interesting to see what this game has to offer, and that's why it's on this list. The 14th game coming out this year is Hogwarts Legacy. I'm a massive Harry Potter fan. If you didn't know, I'm a huge Harry Potter nut. I've read all the books, watched all the movies. I absolutely love the world of Harry Potter. So when I saw Hogwarts Legacy first sort of advertised, I was extremely hyped. This is an open world action RPG game developed by Avalanche Software. Hogwarts Legacy is actually set in the late 1800s, so it's not going to cover the events of the Harry Potter books, but you will get to play as a student at Hogwarts. The player will be allowed to choose their Hogwarts house and attend classes at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and explore an open world consisting of locations including the Forbidden Forest and Hogsmeade Village. In the game, the player character will learn to cast various magical spells, brew potions, tame magical beasts, and master other combat abilities. The game will employ a morality system which will play a role within the game, and players will also be able to fully customize their character's voice, body type, and whether they are a witch or a wizard. It looks interesting. I'm curious to see what the story is going to be about and where it's going to go. But yeah, I definitely want to see more. We only got kind of a teaser trailer, so we haven't really got to see any gameplay yet, just to kind of get a better sense of what's involved in the game, but I'm definitely interested just because I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. The 15th game coming out this year is Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. It's a sequel to 2017's The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which for me was my game of the year that year. It was a gorgeous game. Took the series in an interesting new open world direction, and I am very much interested in seeing where the game goes. And based on what we've seen so far, it looks like Breath of the Wild 2 is going to actually build on the success of its 2017 predecessor, and possibly somewhat literally, as the most recent trailer shows Link navigating the skies of Hyrule in a way that reminds us heavily of Skyward Sword. So it does look really interesting. We have seen that Link has some similar abilities like with the Sheikah Slate, but he does seem to have a new kind of arm or type glove type mechanic. I'm very intrigued to see what's going to happen. Nintendo is keeping things very close to their chest, very quiet, which is perfectly understandable given the hype surrounding this game. Whether or not this will come out this year, we'll have to wait and see. For me personally, I'm betting that it's going to come out in March 2023, just because the original came out in March 2017, so that makes more sense for me. But we'll have to see, because if it does come out in the holiday season of this year, it's going to be a killer for Nintendo, and it probably will sell quite a lot of consoles. It's a console seller, and I'm very much intrigued to see what to learn more about it. But it'll probably do what they did with Breath of the Wild, where we literally see more of it in Nintendo Treehouse a few months before it comes out, and then the game is here already. The 16th game coming out this year is Little Devil Inside. This is a third-person action-adventure RPG game from indie developer NeoStream Interactive. It's one of my most anticipated indie games this year. Little Devil Inside looks super interesting. I love the art style. It takes place in a 19th century Victorian-inspired setting with elements of steampunk. The main character, Billy, is a swordsman employed by a research team led by college professor Vincent and his colleague Dr. Oliver to travel the world in search of the supernatural and other unusual incidents. The game has elements of survival, combat, and open world exploration. I love the art style of Little Devil Inside. It looks really interesting, and yeah, I'm very much looking forward to picking it up and checking it out. The 17th game coming out this year is Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. This is a turn-based strategy adventure game developed by Ubisoft Montreal. It is a sequel to 2017's Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. It looks super interesting. It's got elements of Mario Galaxy in the fact that, Mario and Rabbids are now going to space. In terms of the plot, an entity named Cursor has been seeking out the energy of the sparks, creatures formed by the fusion of Loomis and Rabbids, and while doing so has plunged the galaxy into chaos. Mario and his friends must travel to different worlds to restore peace to the galaxy, save the sparks, and defeat Cursor. Gameplay in Sparks of Hope is largely similar to that found in Kingdom of Battle. Unlike the first game, level designs are a little less linear, and the turn-based tactical combat features a new system that disregards the first game's grid-based layout. I watched Dante play Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and it was one of the biggest surprises that came out that year. It was such a well-made game. It had so much character and heart, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So I'm very much looking forward to Sparks of Hope and seeing how they add to the franchise. The 18th game coming out this year is Splatoon 3. This, of course, again is Nintendo Switch. Like, if these games come out in 2022, like, Nintendo's gonna kill it this year. I'm a huge Splatoon fan. I played the first and second game. Absolutely loved it. Splatoon 2 took the series in such an interesting new way. It introduced a whole new species in the Octolings, a fantastic single player experience. It just did so much to develop the game, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing where Splatoon 3 goes. It is set in a completely new setting, kind of a Mad Max style setting called the Splatlands, which is a sun-scorched desert inhabited by battle-hardened Inklings and Octolings. Splatsville is your main hub. This is known as the City of Chaos and is the adrenaline-fueled heart of this dusty wasteland. The multiplayer element of the game, of course, will be back, and 4v4 turf Turf War is back, offering new stages and locations, new maneuvers and new weapons. Some of the new moves will help fighters to dodge attacks and cover more ground, so there is a really cool grapple mechanic that we saw, along with a new bow-shaped weapon to sling ink. The game will of course have a single player campaign, and players will get to join Agent 3 in a fight against the evil Octarian army in story mode. Discover the secrets of Alterna, the Fuzzy Ooze, and how they connect to the mode's theme, Return of the Mammalians. I'm very much looking forward to Splatoon 3. I hope they bring back Splatfest events. It has such a great community, and I'm really looking forward to it. So we'll have to see whether or not that does come out this year. But if it does, I'm there. I'm totally there. The 19th game coming out in 2022 is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. This is an action-adventure game developed by Rocksteady Studios. They've been working on this game for quite a while, pretty much since Arkham Knight. It is a continuation of the Batman Arkham series and will be the first game in the series not to feature Batman as the title character. It takes place sometime after the events of Batman Arkham Knight. Amanda Waller creates a task force known as the Suicide Squad, which comprises of Arkham Asylum's inmates including Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, Deadshot and King Shark for a covert mission in Metropolis. Only when they arrive in the city do they realize the severity of the situation. Brainiac has invaded Earth and has started brainwashing its inhabitants, including the Justice League members Superman, Flash and Green Lantern, with Wonder Woman as the only apparent member who is not under Brainiac's control. Unable to depend on any hero for help, it is up to the Suicide Squad to save the world by assassinating the Justice League and stopping Brainiac. While the game can be played solo, it will also feature 4-player cooperative multiplayer. When playing solo though, players can switch between characters at will, while the other characters are controlled by the AI. After seeing some gameplay, it looks interesting. I'm actually more interested in this game after seeing that gameplay trailer recently. I do like the Suicide Squad, I do like the humor, especially that they're kind of a ragtag band of like misfits. So I'm very much looking forward to the humor and the writing in it. It's Rocksteady, and Rocksteady have a pretty good track record, so I'm interested to see how the gameplay feels and works. And the fact that it's set in the Arkham, world and lore also has me interested. And yeah, so I'm definitely more interested to check it out and see it. And we'll obviously have to wait for a confirmed release date, but hopefully it will come out this year. And finally, the 20th game coming out in 2022 is Stray. This is an adventure game developed by indie developer Blue 12 Studio. This game looks super cute. It follows the story of a stray cat who falls into a world populated by robots and sets out to return to his family. The game will have open world elements with a focus on atmosphere, exploration and art. Players will control a stray cat and they must solve puzzles to progress the narrative, including moving obstacles and traversing platforms. The player is accompanied by a drone companion named B12 who can assist by translating the language of the robots and storing items found throughout the world. One of the game's enemies are known as the Zerks, who will attack the player in various swarms. We did get to see a gameplay trailer most recently, and this game looks really interesting and cool. It's not often we get to play as a cat in a game, so I'm very interested to see how that feels and how they make that feel for players and how that controls. But Stray looks really interesting. It's one of the indie games I'm very intrigued by this year. So there you have it, guys. There is my list of 20 most anticipated games of 2022. It's a long list. There's a lot of games on there. Whether or not all these games come out this year, we'll have to see. Let me know what you guys think of the list. Are there any on this list especially that you're very much looking forward to, and why is that? And are there any that you feel I've missed? Please let me know in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts anyway. Hope you guys found this video interesting and useful. If you did enjoy it, please show your support by liking, commenting and subscribing. I will be back again. Probably my next video will be the top game releases coming out in this month in February, which I'm hoping to get to you at some point this week, so please look forward to that. Anyway, hope you guys have a great week, of course. Take care, and as always, happy gaming. Bye guys.